Welcome to Long Story Long. I'm your host, Lisa Curry. Today's guest is the hilarious comedian Jackie Kashian. Jackie has a number of albums out and is recording a fresh new one this July, so keep your eyes peeled for that. She's also the host of the podcast, The Dork Forest. If you're into us talking, you can catch my episode of The Dork Forest where I just talk about boats the whole time. And also this Friday the 16th at 9 p.m. Pacific, Jackie is hosting Your Late Night Show Tonight. It's an online late night show. She put together a really good crew of writers for it. It's a 90-minute show. A lot of work went into it. It's going to be so good. You should check that out, and you can get tickets for that on rushtix.com. So look for that. Check out Jackie. I think you're going to love her. Here you go. Hey, Jackie. How are you?
I'm good, Lisa Curry. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So you are from Milwaukee or elsewhere in Wisconsin?
It's a little factory town south of Milwaukee called South Milwaukee.
Oh.
the drama that I've had for the last 50 years trying to explain to people that it's its own town and not the south side of Milwaukee, that it's in between Cudahy and Oak Creek. You can tell from the tone of my voice that I've told the, but there I'm from a little town outside Milwaukee, in between of Milwaukee and Chicago.
I grew up near East Chicago, and so same drama. I'm like, East Chicago isn't even in Illinois, and east of Chicago is Lake Michigan. So it's a different, there is no East Chicago.
East Chicago is the lake. Congratulations. Welcome. To the middle of Lake Michigan. Look for the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
So when you were growing up in South Milwaukee, did you know you wanted to get into comedy? Is this something that you had in mind?
We never listened to stand-up when I was a kid. We listened to... what do we listen to? Oh, it's like sales pitch stuff, like how to be a better salesperson, how to, there was a lot of talk about talking. There was so much talk about talking that, and I didn't even know what stand-up comedy was, that it's so funny that there's no mystery why I do this for a living, because I was raised to talk. I was thinking about this the other day because my husband was raised to listen. And I'm like, oh, look at this beautiful.
Oh, interesting.
Look at this
what
beautiful.
What a great combo.
Except when he wishes to talk, it turns out somebody has a harder time listening.
Who could that be?
Who would that be in this equation? My dad is a salesman, right? He sells siding and windows, and doors, and roofing, and all these things. And for a short time, sold mausoleum crypts when I was a kid. Okay. And I remember there was a lot of discussion about discussion. There was a lot of discussion about how you phrase things, how you told stories, how you, the importance of telling stories, the importance of always making the sale. And then my siblings, I have 5 older siblings. They all sort of came into, because my dad is also a button pusher sometimes. He's gotten better, mostly since we're all adults now and we can tell him to fuck right off. I remember my sister insisted that I join student council. And my sister also insisted that I was like, I don't, because she was student council president. And 2 of my brothers were student council president. And I did not want to be. I hate Robert's rules with the power of the sun. And she was like, well, you got to pick something. And I said, why don't I be the power behind the throne and go into journalism? So I was the editor of the school newspaper. Yes. And so, but I didn't want, like, her speech to run for student council president is epic. I mean, I still think about it because the guy running against her had no platform. And what platform do you have? Because you have very little power, right?
Because it's not like they're going to give you the keys to the school.
Right. You're 14 and you're 13 or 14 years old. But,
it's all a farce.
Yeah, it's all a farce. And but the kid she was running against had just been hit by a car and had just gotten out of the hospital.
By her car? How deliberate? What was this campaign like?
Well, the campaign was he literally was playing on the heartstrings of the school. And she was like, She literally, she might as well have said, I didn't hit him with the car. Why would you vote for him? Because he got hit by a car. It's very sad he got hit by a car. Turns out
I think that's a great point.
And so she won. And but anyway, so then she made me. She was the boss of me, my sister, and I appreciate it to this day. Because she
pushed you into writing.
Yeah, she pushed me into all of it. Yeah, into our parents were like, you have to take an instrument, which I think is one of the greatest signs of parenting in the world, to be able to sit through beginner violin. Oh my God.
Is that what did you do violin?
My sister did, and I did viola. And my older brother played flute, and the other ones played different instruments. But the thing is so Darla took violin and I took viola, and about a year into viola, I was like, oh, I hate this. And so I quit. And Darla had already done 2.5 years of viola and of violin and had hated it as much. But she literally said when I quit, she was like, wait, we can quit? Because when she took that energy, that she was so rageful that we were forced to do this, and practiced to torment them for like 2 or 3 hours a day. And as a byproduct, became very good at violin, and then fell in love with music and started playing. And so I switched to a wind instrument, which was much easier. It turns
Which wind
out
instrument?
I played the clarinet.
I played the clarinet.
And I was terrible at the clarinet. And so they shunted me into bass clarinet. And then I was like, can I just play the trumpet in marching band? And they were like, yes. And so I played the trumpet poorly in marching band. And then I graduated from high school. Anyway, so
that feels like so much work to do all these instruments. What do you, Prince?
Darla learned all of the instruments that I abandoned behind me.
That's insane.
Yes. And she also, one of her favorites was French horn. And
oh, wow.
Because she started playing with my trumpet, and then she was like, French horn's more interesting. And I was like, yeah, but it's bass clef. I don't want to learn bass clef. And she's like, I already know bass clef because I'm also playing the viola. And anyway, so it went on like that. My sister, but she also made me join the debate class, which was another talking thing. And it became this thing when we started, because my dad was such a button pusher, and he would always be like, so you got to learn how to argue, got to learn how to argue, got to learn how to win. And so Darla, it became this thing of like, well, what's your source? You know, because in debate class, you have to have 2 sources. You're like, I'm going to need a second source. And we had like a 1965 set of encyclopedias, which didn't,
amazing.
Which, by the way, did not know that we had been to the moon because they were written in 65.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I'd look up the moon landing for laughs. I was a solitary child, Lisa Curry.
As was I relate so much to some of your stories because I'm like, yeah. Also, I have to point out, it's so funny that I think we come from similar backgrounds, working class families, not tons of money to throw at hobbies, yet we both went into music, which is very expensive. Those instruments are not cheap.
Right. It was so interesting because my dad was the kind of guy who's like, he would find money for the things that he wanted us to do. Like I never had a bike.
But he didn't give a shit. He was like, I don't care. What are you going to do? Are you going to be in the X Games? I don't think so.
He was like, why don't you walk? This town isn't that big.
My dad always said, walking ain't crowded. And I'm like, okay, well, it's 6 miles away. So it's sanity. It was, yeah. So, but yeah, he found money for renting of instruments. Sure. He found money to lease a new car every year and for 4 packs of cigarettes a day. So there was so there was that.
6 kids. I mean, when there's 6 kids, you have to be fabulously wealthy to have to not feel kind of poor.
Absolutely. So you get into debate, and did you immediately love it, or what was that like for you?
It was pretty stressful. There was something else called, I believe, forensics, and I did extemporaneous forensics, which was you would get the topic every week. And my sister was like, "You should do extemp. You should do extemp." And I was like, "Should I? Why? Why?" She was like, "Well, because then you don't have to write anything." And I was like, oh, this does appeal to me. And what she said, all you have to do is read these 4 magazines, like Newsweek, Time, U.S. News and World Report, and then one other, which I picked one of those. It was an amalgamation of all the foreign news kind of ones because it was more interesting. I was like, well, what's happening in Malaysia? Yeah. And then you would use those sources for whatever topic came up. Like if it was, gun control, the big thing in debate was always, how are you going to enforce that? That was always the first question. And you were just like, that's not my problem. My problem is to advocate legislation. And so whatever. But I did love arguing. I didn't get the same kind of joy that a lot of people get out of debate and forensics, where there were this one-upmanship, which is why stand-up comedy is actually ideal, because you're doing your own material, you are expressing your own point of view, and writing jokes and trying to make people happy with it. And then sometimes people are dumb and they think it's an interactive experience and not a theater experience.
This is not Blue Man Group. Okay. There's no back and forth.
There's no back and is there back and forth in Blue Man Group?
I remember it that way, but I went when I was 10, so I don't really know.
That's hilarious.
My examples are not good.
But it's like, I mean, why? Yeah. So, so when I started doing stand-up in college, I started it my second year of college. There was a comedy club opened 1984, owned by Sam Kinnison's brother, Bill Kinnison. I went, the drinking age was 18. I was 19. We went to the show. I heckled. I got very, very drunk. He tried to shut me down. Sam Kinnison did, and he could not because I was too drunk. And then they tried to kick me out.
And you're like, I did forensics, bitch.
Exactly. What's your second source on that Peoria joke?
Yeah.
And it was just, I mean, I was a nightmare. Eventually management came over and said, hey, open mic is on Sunday. You have to shut the fuck up. And they were correct. And 3 weeks later, I came back and did open mic. So there wasn't a lot of I remember, and I've told the story so many times, but I have like 3 memories of stand-up comedy from when I was a child. And it was once driving home from church, my dad, for some reason, had the radio on, and we heard Bill Cosby's Noah bit about Noah's Ark.
Okay.
And my mind was blown. It was blown. I was like, holy what is this? And because
it's just somebody talking and being funny rather than
and telling some weird, and we were coming from church. And so, Noah's Ark had been addressed. And so, and the great thing about church was we would drive home and we went to Sunday school for so long, my sister and I, because my brother served on the altar, but women can't serve on the altar in the Armenian church. But we could only be in the choir. And I didn't like it. So I just stayed in Sunday school. And till I was like 17, because church is almost 4 hours long. So,
oh my God!
It's Sundays.
We went to like Polish Catholic church, and I thought that was torture.
Yeah. Catholic church. It was real nice when the big switch came in, and you guys, it was 45 minutes. Because my father would be always like, "Kickoff is at noon, man. We got to get out of here," and so Wisconsin, and so. But Sunday school was a real clock eater. But I remember Darla and I were in Sunday school, and it was like we were like 13. I must have been maybe 11. She was 13, and there was a new Sunday school teacher, and she came and she was talking about she had like the meanest God in the world that she needed to scare us really, and we were like, we've just been kind of wandering around this church for the last 10, 11 years, not being frightened of God. Why did you want us to be frightened of God? And and so she told some parable about how if you were mean, you would break your leg. And and Darla laughed in her face, and I And then and she said she was going to talk to our parents. And so we're driving home, and Darla and I told the story of the parable and what had happened. And my dad goes, wow, got to talk to that lady, and we gotta shut her down. That's not what we're not trying to build. And so there was very little stand up. The other stand up, I saw Gallagher on the Johnny Carson show, standing in front of a giant couch, and I remember feeling robbed. I was like, everyone's robbed because everyone's funny in front of a giant couch. You're like, how could you? That's not fair. And
I love that logic.
I was like 14 or 15, and then I saw something. There was an early TV show called Make Me Laugh. It was a game show with stand-up comics in like 79 or 80.
God, that sounds awful.
It was terrible.
Just the title, Make Me Laugh.
They did a reboot of it too. It was, and I think I was on the pilot, and my jokes are all 7 minutes. I mean, I can't even just to answer a question. All of my answers are so long. It's a real clock eater for podcasts, though. Anyway, yeah, so I only saw it a couple of times, and then I went to college, and I didn't know what it was. And it was before Comedy Central. So 84.
So you try this open mic.
Yeah.
When you, like, what was that experience? By the way, the balls you have to be drunk and heckle somebody and then later come back, presumably sober, because I'm sure it's like 6 o'clock or something for an open mic. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm going to come back and talk shit from the stage this time.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. They talk a lot about women having imposter syndrome. And I was raised to be an imposter. So whenever someone says, can you do that? I'm like, yes. And then I do it to varying degrees of success. Because I can be taught. I can do anything. You know, it's not like I can't do the thing.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to be in charge of some sort of life or death situation, right? But if someone said, right, or someone said, like, could you take this splinter out of my hand, I would say yes. If someone said, hey, could you remove my liver? I'd be like, no, I actually don't have the, can you explain it?
I'm a little the same way where I'm almost like one of those really toxic men where if you're like anything somebody's doing, if they're doing it shoddily, I'm like, I could roof that house better than that. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't know what I'm talking about. You know?
Right. And so, the open mic was fine. And there were no comics. So I was immediately, I ended up doing stand up. I think I did open mic three Sundays in a row. And then they were like, you're in the crew. We don't have any other women. There's only 7 local comics. Oh, wow. If you want to do shows during the week, we need bodies. So I did stand up like every night for 8 months.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. I got a 1.8 that semester.
Also great in some households. Depends.
Yeah, and then
depends on what you're shooting for.
Yeah, and then the club burned down, and I essentially went back to college and just did open mic like 3 or 4 times a month, like sort of, you know, as much as I could. And then there was some road work that was like some shitty Best Western bar.
When did it occur to you that it was going to be your career path?
It was
like, what was that transition out of college like? Well,
I wanted to drop out of college and just do stand-up.
Any excuse?
Right. Well, I wanted to do stand-ups. It was like, I swear, it's got to be like what heroin feels like. Because I started doing stand-up and I was like, oh, this is all I want to do. Yeah. You know, and I would come back to my co-op. I lived with this women's co-op, was like a dorm. And I would tell them stories that the guys, you know, the headliners from LA had come in and the local guys were all emulating them. And not all of them, but, you know, a good half of them. And I would tell these, horror stories, you know, Eddie Murphy and Rodney Dangerfield and all these essentially just terrible male, like bad life choices were being made.
Sure.
Right and left. There was violence, there was sex, there was drugs, there was all these things. And I would go back bright-eyed. And I was the youngest 19-year-old in the whole wide world, by the way. I lost my virginity to a comic.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that is the correct response. He is a very nice man. Anyway, so...
Well, that's good.
Yeah, he ended up being a better person than a comic. He's a pretty funny guy. And so, but so I would come back to the co-op and tell these stories, and my friends, my school friends, like my college friends, would be like, you have to get away from those people. Those are terrible people, Jackie. Why are you hanging out with those people? And I'd be like, no, they said it was funny. No, they told the story like it was funny, so it must have been funny. And they're like, yeah, not if you're sane. Anyway, so it was such a weird, sort of experience. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to quit college and just do stand-up. And my sister, again, was like, no, you got to graduate. It's only like 3 more years, Jackie. And then the next year she was like...
And you're still playing the viola at this point? Or... You're like, please let it stop.
So I graduated from college, 5 years. I moved to Minneapolis. Well, no, actually, I go and I live with my sister for the winter in Milwaukee. And she's like, and I'm like, I'm going to move to Minneapolis and do stand-up. Because all the guys that I started with stand-up in Madison, Wisconsin, moved to Chicago. And I was like, I'm going to move wherever those guys are not. And so I'm going to Minneapolis. And plus I have a brother and one of my friends from college. We got an apartment. So
nice.
I was like, I'm going to move to Minneapolis and do stand-up. And my sister was like, you could do stand-up, but you've got the chops. You got your degree. You got your chops. You could manage like a McDonald's. Or a Pizza Hut or something, and just have a real income and pay off your student loans, and then also do stand-up. And I was like, managing a McDonald's is a 90-hour-a-week job, darling.
Yeah, and that's not a side gig.
Yeah, and she's like, and you don't want to go into sales. And I said, no, I genuinely believe that is that if you go into sales, you use all of that performance energy up.
Absolutely.
So I could, at any time go into sales and sell if I believed in an item. And then though there is a small voice in the back of my head, which is my father's going, if you're selling it, you believe in it. So
instead of the other way around.
Yeah. And so I went to she set me up with a couple of interviews. And I went to the McDonald's people, and the woman interviewing me was so rude that I was like, oh, I'm just leaving now. And the Pizza Hut one I didn't even show up for. I was just like, I'm gonna go.
There goes your management career.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I moved to Minneapolis and had to start over, because that's what you do when you move to a new town. Even if you've been doing it, I moved there in 1990. Ostensibly, I had been doing stand-up for 6 years.
Yeah.
I count the 8 months. I mean, 8 months in a row is more experience than a lot of people get. So it was an intensive for sure. But when you start doing stand-up and you get in with the club and you end up hanging out with people, because that's the job, and you eventually start getting road work and just little one-nightery kind of stuff, and you end up getting spots in town, and then you move to a different city, you have to reinvent the wheel to some extent. You have to remind people that you are funny. Yeah. And if you are funny, you got a leg up, but you have to not have the attitude that, oh, I'm somebody in Indianapolis. You're like,
yeah, that doesn't really transfer.
Fly.
It's a different currency when you go somewhere else.
Yeah,
entirely.
Right. So I moved to Minneapolis, and it took a couple of years. It took a couple of years of open mics and getting in with those clubs and all that. And my day job there was dumb. I worked at Kinko's. And then I eventually got a better day job at a hippie t-shirt poster shop that was much more flexible, because they were artists themselves.
Yeah, of course. So how long did it take you then to get out to LA? You went straight from there to Los Angeles, right?
Minneapolis,
okay.
Yeah, in Minneapolis, I moved in 96 or 97. can't remember. I was pretty drunk at the time. And so I moved out.
I'm just picturing you like drunk packing. That's, just everything in one pile in a garbage bag.
Right.
Like, fuck it.
Weirdly,
it'll get there.
my sister had just moved to Minneapolis. We were roommates in 95, 94, 95. Me, her, and my old roommate from college were living together. And I was like, hey, I'm moving to Minneapolis. And she was like, I just got here. I've only been here like a year and a half. And she's lived in Minneapolis the whole time now. And has 2 kids and absolutely knows everyone. And is amazing. But she's you know what my sister does for a living? She's a socially responsible financial advisor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she's on like foundation boards and is really, really like...
That's excellent.
Yeah, she's
that
amazing.
sounds like a direct product of your dad, from what I've heard.
yeah, a direct... it's with some... yeah, with a small morality, a morality course correct, and so because
she believes in the product first and then sells it.
Yes,
Got it.
yes, and she so whatever, but so then I moved to Minneapolis in like 96 or 97, and by then I was working the road 45 weeks a year.
Oh, wow.
So from
that's
like
a lot of work.
Yeah, because that's my main job. That's I worked
work, yeah.
Not 20 but 19. I think I worked 42 weeks. And
yeah,
but I was trying to bring it down to 35 weeks because I was whimpering every time I got on an airplane. So
you brought it down signiggly.
Oh yeah, 2020 was boy am I well rested, you guys.
So you're working consistently. When did you move to Los Angeles from there?
Like 96, 97.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then did you like LA right away, or did you immediately go out on the road, or what was that transition like? I was very lucky when I moved to Los Angeles because I was given the greatest advice that I was willing to hear, which is by a buddy of mine who's actually he's in the film, he's a production guy. And he goes, and he moved from Minneapolis. He goes, when you move to Minneapolis, whenever you move to a new city, and Los Angeles in particular, in this case, you have to choose to like it. He was like, it will be easy to find things not to like because nothing's familiar. You don't know enough people. You don't have any close friends you don't have all your things. So you have to choose to like it. Look for things to like. And it will make your experience in Los Angeles that much better. And so I did. I looked for things to like. My roommate, I moved to LA instead of New York because a comic friend of mine was willing to let me crash on her floor. And I didn't have one in New York. So that is so much of it too. It's like, I just went this way in my life because there was a free place to stay.
Yep.
It's like it's like less of a conscious decision and more like that's all I needed. yeah. It's literally, I don't know who's mapping out their lives differently than that, but good for you. She even found me, like, she bought a new mattress and gave me her old mattress, and we shared a studio apartment for like a year. And luckily that year she was on the road a bunch and also got a writing job out of town for a month or so. So when she came back at like a year, we moved into a larger studio. It was like a giant bunk bed. It was all open, but it was like 2 bedrooms stacked on top of each other, 2 bathrooms stacked on top of each other, and then this vaulted ceiling and a kitchen. So, and we lived there for a year, and then she's such a good, I just miss her desperately because we keep in touch but very rarely, but Jennifer McLean, the greatest. She gave me an OXO set, a kitchen OXO set one time, and she goes, we can't live together anymore, we're in our 30s, I have to live alone or with a man. And you gotta get an apartment. And so so that would have been in 99. I got my own apartment, and for 4 years I had a 1-bedroom by myself, and I had this little car, and I was just LA.
and I had the shittiest car. Right, I still have a very mediocre car, right? It's fine. It's because I don't care. If you have a nice car, I win. I'm in the shitty. You have to look at my car. I get to look at your car. But what I did spend my money on was my living quarters, right? I wanted, people were like, you should live in Hollywood, man. You should. And I was like, I got to live in the Valley, where I don't have to get dressed up to go to the grocery store. And I'm also, the rent is exponentially cheaper. So, and I have off-street parking and I have air conditioning. So, I had this cute little apartment and it was across the street from another comic friend that I love, my friend Karen Rontowski. And
she's great.
Yeah, she's great. We both she paid less than I did, but it was 1999, 2003 was how long I had the apartment. $450 a month.
I'm gonna strangle you
and burst into tears at the same time with off-street parking. And I mean, it was banana land.
That's amazing.
Because that apartment's $1,700 a month now, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
at least.
So whatever, but so then I had to reinvent the wheel when I came here, right? You got to go to open mics. You got to try to
get. Were you doing like the store and all that?
No. I wouldn't go to any of the clubs. Because the clubs were
they were scary.
Yeah, well, they were actually a pain in my ass. And remember, in 1997, it was the beginning of the alt comedy boom.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns out Jackie Kashian has always been doing alternative comedy, because my definition of alternative comedy is you tell the story of how you wrote the joke and then you tell the punchline. And that's always how I've done stand-up comedy. And that's what Janine Garofalo was doing. And and Margaret Cho and all these people that were, they were essentially storytellers with punchlines. And I had worked, the Dakotas and Iowa and the South and all these places doing alt comedy in mainstream rooms.
Without having a label for it.
Right, without having I just needed work. And it was, there's always this sort of weird pride thing with comics where I can play any room, man. When, again, all I can hear are my friends from college going, why would you want to? Why wouldn't you want to play an A room where there's policing the room and you don't have to actually have an argument with a guy who's got PTSD? How about that? And get walked to your car. How about that? Anyway, so, but there is a pride to the fact that I can play any room. Yeah, so,
absolutely.
And so I did the mics that I was doing, the open mics that I was doing were all sort of coffee shop and laundromat and bars and hat stores and everywhere that somebody had a mic. And then I got into the improv and then I was on that list and mostly ignored for years because I needed the stage time. I just did the bars. I just did the pop-ups around town. And then there was the fancy one, Largo. That was
Largo's great.
Yeah, and at the time it was just a small bar across the street from Cantor's, and so it seated probably 120 people, and every Monday it was packed. Oh, and if you could get on that show once or twice a year, you were in front of every middle management, And here's the thing, you ever, I think about, and I've told Ron Funches this, but guys like Ron Funches and Ian Abramson? No, Ian Carmel. So they came down from Florida on the plane. This is what it looked like from outside. On the plane, they got work, writing work. Yeah. They're on sitcoms. All of a sudden, they're in the union. They have pensions. They're fabulously wealthy. It's all working out.
There are certain people that you're like, what happened? It feels like you just can't get turned down for anything, and they're great. I'm not saying that's not like a dig at them,
very,
but it's
very
like,
talented.
What the fuck?
But how did you do it, right? And it literally, and here's what it is. As I was talking to Ron about this, is I was like, because it took me about 10 years to figure out that Los Angeles, there's literally millions of dollars just sitting around.
So many.
There's so much money where people are like, we're trying to create something, man. We want it to be amazing. What do you think? And then they're like, and here's a handful of cash. And I'm like, can I have some of that? And I was like, I didn't know that it was everywhere. I've still not sort of nailed how to sort of get to it, but I've tapped into it a little bit more. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I've lived here over 22 years, right? Yeah. And so I tell Ron this story, and Ron, and I think it was on his podcast, Ron goes, "You didn't know that there was money there's money everywhere." And I was like, yes, I know that you knew.
I also didn't realize that coming out. I mean, I would have done everything so differently had I moved to Los Angeles now, but my family's very working class.
Yeah, here's the thing. Let's give each other some tips. Because the thing is, it's never too late. It's never too late to try to find a pile of cash behind a cactus. What would you do differently? What do you think people could do?
I think I would have focused less on working so fucking hard. I was like, if I'm not in physical pain when I'm working, then I'm not working hard enough. And I'm like, I think I would have focused more on having fun and being creative and, hanging out with my friends, because when I first got into comedy, I thought like it felt so frivolous to spend time like just hanging with comics. I was like, well, that's not working. And now I look back and I'm like, a lot of them have television shows now that I'm not involved in because I wasn't hanging out with them.
Right, because people forget with I don't know if this is true of plumbers or other jobs. It might be. But going to lunch with people, the networking part of it, and I was raised to go to breakfast. Oh my God. Does my father just wants to go to breakfast more than anything in the world. And he wants someone to sit there and fill his coffee cup a gajillion times. And that is to this day, one of my very favorite things. And I think the thing I miss most about quarantine. So, I would say, because that hanging out is super important. The other thing that I did learn early on was that casual sort of attitude of, it doesn't matter. I get it. I don't get it. I just put this together. I hope you like it. And it was an attitude that was sort of cultivated. I saw it done a lot at Largo. Paul F. Tompkins, Mary Lynn Ricecub, Karen Kilgariff, Greg Behrendt, a lot of these San Francisco guys.
Oh, so great.
All amazing comics that worked very hard.
Yeah.
And then just sort of kick back. You can't look like you want it. You just got to go, oh, well, I just threw this together. And it was like, that's stop action animation. Yeah. The amazing Mr. Fox. I don't know if you ever saw the Fantastic, whatever that was called.
Oh, I didn't see it, but I'm familiar with it.
But it's stop motion animation. You don't casually put that together over a weekend.
Right, exactly.
But it has that sort of vibe to it. And if you can... It's based on something real, that vibe. And the real thing that it's based on is that you just create and let go of the results, right?
Yeah.
That's a real suggestion from sane, whole people that are trying to keep you sane and whole. They're like, all you can do is do the thing you love, and then hopefully someone cares. And if they don't, you got to do the thing you love.
It's so hard. It's so hard to take that advice because it's like, I'm going to fucking make them care. And you can't. And that's a psychotic energy to approach anything with.
And that psychotic energy is the thing that middle management Hollywood does not want to have to deal with.
No.
Right. They love the idea that and the great advice I got from my friend Jennifer McLean when I first moved here, who let me sleep on her floor, was don't try so hard, because remember, you're the talented one. You're the cool kid. They actually they have jobs.
Correct. Exactly.
You have a gift.
They have to wear a suit to work.
Right. If it's only Dockers and a polo.
Yeah.
And,
so wait, how did you end up, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but how did you end up opening for Maria Bamford and Brian Regan?
Well, Bamford and I have been friends since 92 in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we started...
I definitely didn't realize that.
Yeah. She's from Duluth, which, as my 5-year-old niece used to say, that's where Dulutherans are. I'll be over here repeating a joke from the 12th century.
Is your 5-year-old niece going to work for me now? Is she going to write my jokes?
I think she just turned 35. So I wonder if her daughter has ever told that joke. That's a good one. Anyway, so so Maria started stand-up, I think, in 92, and Maria's stand-up career, hilariously, because by 92, I had sort of gotten in. I'd gotten in all the open mics. I was starting to get spots on Scott Hansen's creepy, cavalcade of too many clubs, and then also met Louis Lee, who owns the current club in Minneapolis and is my home club, and he's
such a great
the
club.
best. And so, but Maria, when she first started out, was playing the violin. She had shaved her head.
And you're like, I've got this viola.
And
let's team up.
I think I started
as the Dixie Chicks. Yeah.
It's my clarinet's around here somewhere. And so she was doing that, and she was performing at a genuinely alt space called Balls. And Balls was a theater variety show, not open mic. It was kind of booked, but you wouldn't find out until like 11 o'clock on Saturday night if you were going up at midnight, because it was from midnight to 4 a.m. in Minneapolis on Saturday nights at the Southern Theater, and it was run by Leslie Ball. And Leslie Ball's a delight. She is a musician and has played with Billy Bragg and Elvis Costello.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and so, but Maria would go up, and I remember watching Maria and going, "What is this?" And Maria would get off and go, "I don't know what that was." And so we became acquaintances, and we've been friends off and on. And then I moved here to Los Angeles, and we reconnected and started hanging out. And I think it was in 99, I opened for her a couple of times. In 2001, she had to go on that Maria Bamford's first album is called the Burning Bridges Tour. It was because she became very popular. And so they booked her to headline rooms across the country. She had the time if you were patient. And by the end of the year, she had a tight 45. But she burned bridges. She got
because she didn't have the 45 tightened.
And she had to follow like shouty, wiggly features, and and they swapped her out a couple of times with the feature. And
that's really funny.
He sent her to Vegas. Maria Bamford in Las Vegas. Terrible idea. She left after the first night. She just fucked off. And she was like, "Yeah, I don't care." Anyway, so in 2001, when she went back out on the road again, she was like, "Would you open for me?" And I was like, "Yes." What is that? What will that mean? And the only thing you get as a stand-up comic is your own room in stand-up comedy when you work the road, or you used to when they put features up. And she said, "Here's the problem. I'm making okay money. I could pay your travel and I could pay you feature money, but we'll have to share a room." And I was like, "I'm willing to do it. I need, I want to see her long set because she's the greatest living comic.
She's incredible.
She is. Nobody has those premises. Nobody has those twists. And, nobody's doing stand-up comedy like Maria Bamford. It is a goddamn masterclass to just watch her long set. So I was like, yes. And then we ended up being pretty good roommates in because you'd go to whatever Hampton Inn.
Yeah, and you've already been living in a studio with somebody.
Right. So we both have the 2 beds, and then we would just pick a corner, opposite corners. And then, it ended up being great because now we stay in very nice hotels.
Yeah.
But even when we were...
And you still split a room just for old time's sake?
Oh, good Lord. And I can't even stay at my brother's house. So I have to have my own room. But even when we were sharing a room, she would either go for a long walk or I would go for a long walk so that we would each have an hour or 2 solo time in the room to cry or masturbate or do whatever people do when they're alone in a hotel room.
Yeah.
And then
both at the same time,
possibly. Yeah. and then, as she became more successful, she was like, will you come? And then I'll pay you. And then she got Lady Dynamite, and she was like, will you come on the road with me? And I was like, yeah. And so she's filling theaters, and she started massively overpaying me. And I was
That's
like,
lovely.
What is happening? And she said, I think you should get kind of a third of what I'm getting. And I said, I don't, but I don't know how to turn down a great deal of money.
Yes.
I remember one time she gave me a check. It was a 2-night run. She gave me $18,000.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? I was like, eventually you will stop doing this if you have to, right? And she's like, of course. So when the show didn't get picked up again, it was a beautiful 3-year run, right? She goes on the road again, and now she's just making stand-up money. And she's like, I might not be able to afford to bring you on the road. And I said, you could afford to bring me on the road if you just paid me fair instead of ridiculous, you know? And she was like, yeah, but I think you deserve. And I was like, no, you deserve the bulk of the money, as you are the name.
You're the headliner.
You are the headliner. You're doing the time. You're doing the press. You're doing all of the other jobs. And then before that happened, Brian Regan's manager emailed me and said, have you ever heard of Brian Regan? And I was like, yes, I've heard of Brian Regan.
That's like asking somebody, have you ever heard of water? I mean, to ask that of a comedian.
Right. And he goes, well, Brian saw your clips online. He was wondering if you'd be willing to open for him. And I was like, yes, I totally would be willing to. And you hear stories about Brian Regan. You hear stories about Maria Bamford and her generosity and her kindness and these things. You hear stories about Brian Regan and his kindness, his accessibility, his just politeness and his courtesy. And all of those things are true. It is.
I love it.
And he also pays enormously fair. I mean, to get Jackie Kashian, that is me in the third person, to get me to feature for you, I have to want to see your set. Yeah. And and then I would like low headliner money per show, please, at the very least. And so.
Yeah, you've been in the game for a minute. I think that's more than fair.
And I will set you up as best I can. I will not take any sucker punches. I am like Rocky sparring with Apollo Creed. I'm not going to take any sort of, and but then the last time I featured, do you know Caitlin Gill?
I love Caitlin Gill. She's hysterical.
So she asked me if I would open for her on her tour to go to release her album for Blonde Medicine. And I was like, yes, I will do that. And it was me, her, and Chris Fairbanks, and we just did shows. And I got to watch her long set.
That's so fun.
And that was a delight. And there was very little money in that. But that was, there's a different currency for all these things, which is
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all part of the negotiation. You're negotiating your own sanity or your own income or something.
Sense of joy. I mean, there has to be an actual hard currency for me to do a gig, and and I learned that I learned that too from my folks. So yeah.
When you look back on how you made it through to where you're at in your career, is there something that sticks out that either felt negative or insignificant at the time that ended up changing things for the better?
Oh, well, probably Last Comic Standing. I auditioned for it 4 times. One time the dates for the semifinals were mixed up, so I didn't go to the semifinals. But I went to the semifinals 3 times, and I never made the house. Wait, it might have been 3 times, and 1 time was messed up. Yeah, so I did it only 3 times, but none of the times did I make it to the house. And I remember just thinking of the injustice of it. just seeing who they had cast and who they had allowed in and what that did for their career. And in some cases, it did nothing for their career. So it felt negative at the time, but I think I would have been a basket case.
Had you gone through?
Yeah. Had I gone through and had I had to do these tasks and these, though I did like the year that they actually did sort of like a Top Chef kind of, you have to do prop comedy at a Home Depot and Carrot Top's going to judge you. That was
funny.
That's the greatest. That's what the whole show should have been forever. Yeah. Let's get Will Durst to judge your political chunk. Let's get Let's get
something that feels like it makes more sense. It is interesting, like watching that show. I'll see clips of Friends, and I'm like, oh, that's a really bad characterization of them. And it's it's just that reality show formula where
it's all being written in editing
types. Yeah, and not to say that the people that don't get or that get through are not good. It's just it's not what it seems.
Right. It's a reality TV show, so there's not a great deal of reality, and and it gets shaped in editing, and those people don't make writers' fees, which is too bad too. So
yikes. Well, that's good. I mean, and you have a great career. You've got, from where I'm standing, you have all these albums, and
from where you're standing, from the perspective not inside of me, if I can remember it, my life is a gift and a blessing, and I've come so far, and I am very, very successful. Inside me, there is occasionally a recurring tape. Why doesn't Netflix want to do a special with me? Why doesn't HBO want to do a special with me? Why doesn't Paige Hurwitz like my stand-up comedy enough to put me on any of the myriad of shows that she produces? Well, because they don't. Because and much like I'm gonna make you like me, I can't make them book me. I want to work all the heliums. The guy that books the heliums likes other people more than me.
Yeah.
There's a tiny part of me that's infuriating.
Really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a part of me, there's the sane part of me that has to practice sanity that goes, and you will work other clubs. You will work other cities. You will be fine. You have a beautiful life.
It's hard to remember that a lot of times, but then the great thing is since you're the one that's responsible for so much of your career, you get to call the shots. You don't have to, you're not like, oh, well, I'm going to this helium and the crowd there is horrible and they're all psychos and I'm going to be heckled, but that's the price you pay for being in, this chain. There's like certain things that you don't have to deal with. And I'm telling myself that as much as I'm saying that to anyone.
Right. And it's like podcasting, You get to call all the shots. You get to design, you make the design for living, and then you design the show. And then if it's only 500 people that listen to it, you have to figure out a way to be happy with that. Right?
Yeah.
And you go, well, it's 500 more people than ever gave a damn what I did. So that's a win. And it's I have to say this though, in defense of comedy towns, it's never the audience. It has not been an audience for a reason I don't want to go back to someplace. It's always the staff. It's always the club owner, right? The club owner has made such a toxic environment that the staff hates it.
Yeah.
And if you ever walk into a comedy club and you get that vibe from the staff where you're like, oh, I don't.
Yeah, because it's like, if you're waiting tables, I waited tables for 20 fucking years. And if you're waiting tables at a comedy club, that sounds like it should be, there's at least fun happening in the vicinity. So it's not like fine dining. So if it's a miserable situation, it's definitely because the manager's a miserable person.
Right. And it's gotta be, right. There was a club in Albuquerque that was run by a guy that was so gross, I made them pay me in cash. I was like, I can't stay anymore with this. I gotta go. And his staff was furious. The audience was unruly. It was $7 to get in to see, which is less than a movie at the time.
Yeah.
And there was no one policing the room. It was run maniacally bad.
Wow.
And I was like, it soured me to Albuquerque, but I have to remind myself, the people. You have to train an audience to be an audience of stand-up comedy because it isn't like regular theater.
Yeah.
You gotta, you think you're having a conversation with someone and you are not. And you also, people who come to comedy clubs, I admire them. So I never meet them in real life. I meet them at comedy clubs. Like, you ever meet somebody and they're like, you do stand-up? I've never been to a stand-up show. What is it like? And you're like, who are the people who come then? Because there are hundreds and hundreds of people.
I feel like I've only exclusively met people that are like, what? I've never been to a comedy club. And I'm like, do you know of them? What do you do with all of you have so much free time. You sell insurance, for fuck's sake.
Right. You don't need
what
to
are
laugh.
you doing?
But the people
you don't have a jet ski.
Right. But I do know that the people who come are some of the most, by default, because if they come regularly, they have to have the most open minds.
Yeah.
Because they don't do enough research. So they show up and it's a show. They're like, oh, it's Margaret Cho. I wonder what that's going to be like. And then, it's Nick DiPaolo. I wonder what that's going to be like. And then they sit there and they judge and they go, that's not funny. Oh, that was funny against my will. Yeah. That was funny,
Or they see one stand-up comedian and they're like, oh, that's what all of it is. And you're like, no. Absolutely not.
No, it's like sand, like so many grains of sand. It could be anything. Yeah. And it's like all women comics are the same. And you're like, no, I can tell you that guys talking about their dicks in 3 different ways is what you've been watching for 30 years. You could listen to women talk about their elbows for 3 different ways for the next 20 years. And it would all be different perspective,
Yeah.
And it's just it's such a fascinating, because it literally feels like a job that I fell into, right?
Yeah.
Because I certainly never.
You could have gone into managing that McDonald's, and then you might be managing a comedy club right now.
Regional. I might be regional manager of McDonald's now. Might not even be dropping fries. I don't think I have many regrets. I think. Yeah. No, I think even, I do this thing on Twitter where I have a bot delete all of my tweets once a month.
Brilliant.
Yeah, just because, what if I'm a monster? What if
We've all been saying that. We're like, what if Jackie turns out to have been a monster this whole time?
This whole time. What if I was, and I do. My drafts are as bad as anybody's drafts, right? Where I just want to tell people to eat a bullet and
absolutely.
Die. And but I know that it's. I think back on, they always ask in movies and stuff. They're like, "Is there anything that you regret in your life?" And my brother Phil once asked my dad that, and my dad goes, "No, no, I have no regrets." And Phil was like, "Can you believe that? He doesn't regret any of it." And I was like, I don't know how you could have expected a different
Phil
answer.
Then presents him with a list. He's like, I have some recommendations for things you should regret.
I am shocked he did not.
He's like, actually, this is an intervention.
Well, because and the correct response is if you could do something differently. Mm-hmm. What if it turned out worse?
This is true. There's no guarantees. Right? It's like, I don't know. You could have.
What if I fix that and then that ended up some weird ass butterfly
effect.
Yeah. So then now I live behind a cage like this. What happened? Oh, well, it was that one time that you decided that you shouldn't steal a bit of honey. And
I love bit of honey.
So do I. I've actually been jonesing for bit of honey, and I haven't been able to. I haven't been able to find them. I bet you they're orderable from
you know what?
Amazon.
I'm at my cousin's right now, and her husband is a musician, and he gets like whenever he orders like music equipment, like amps or whatever, the company he orders from will send like a little bag of candy, and there's always a Tootsie Roll and a bit of honey in there, and he gives it to me. He's like, "Here's your old man candy," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is all I want."
And that company is called Sweetwater, which is why it's audio equipment, and it's because I have ordered recently from them, and they keep sending me a Tootsie Roll and a bit of honey, and I'm like, where the hell are you getting these bit of honeys? I need a bit of honey.
That's hilarious. I have one last question for you, Jackie.
Thank you.
If your childhood self could meet you, like 11-year-old Jackie, whatever instrument she was on at that time, if she could meet you, what do you think she would think of you now?
Well, I'm the coolest aunt you've ever met. It's I would want to hang out with me. I would be, but unfortunately 56-year-old or 55-and-a-half-year-old Jackie would have a hard time hanging out with an 11-year-old. I did childcare for a long time. That's why I'm exhausted by children right now. But yeah, no, I would, but I also like to play video games much like I did, and board games and go for walks and stuff. I think, that's so interesting because we just got a dog, right? Like almost 2 months ago. And I wanted a dog so bad when I was a kid. I've never had a dog. And it took a year of quarantine for Andy. And because Andy had an iguana, my husband, for 23 years. And when Tiberius passed finally, he was like, I don't want to get a pet. And then he's like, because his family always finds animals. Like the iguana was given to him at work.
I'm sorry? Where the fuck did he work? In the Amazon?
Sony PlayStation. And working on God of War 2. So one of his coworkers impulse bought 3 iguanas. Baby iguanas.
Who hasn't?
And him and this other guy at work were like, they grow to be like 3.5 feet long. And the guy's like, no, I didn't know that. You guys want an iguana? And so Andy took an iguana, the other guy took an iguana, and the first guy took his iguana. Those other 2 guys killed their iguanas in the first year because they're actually hard to take care of. But Andy is enormously patient. And so his lived for 23 years.
Wow.
And they've always had dogs. His family's always had animals coming out of their ears, cats, dogs, all of it. But they've always found the animals. Like they've always just been strays, and
somebody just comes into work with some cats.
Right. And goes, here's a kitten. And you're like, I'm a kitten. And so it didn't happen. And I have my vision board, put a dog on it. And he walked by it one day and he goes, do you want to get a dog? And I said, yes. And he goes, we can get a dog. And so we went to the pound and picked up, there was a choice between pit bull mutts and chihuahua mutts. And when I was 11, I only wanted a black lab. I only wanted a golden retriever. I only wanted a German shepherd. Like I wanted a sort of a good sized dog.
Yeah.
And this Chihuahua mix, which we got because it's my first dog and I want to be able to wrestle it. It's not that pit bulls can't be perfectly sweet, but I just didn't want to be at a wrestling match with a dog that might be able to take me. So it's just this tiny kind of, I think he might have some Pekingese, whatever. He's just a little Chihuahua mutt. And he's 8. He's a little older. And so my 11-year-old self would be like, he's not big enough, but he's very sweet. Look how soft his ears are.
I love it.
And so that's all.
That's great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was great to talk to you and hear a little bit of your story. Thanks so much for listening. Once again, that was Jackie Kashian. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at Jackie Kashian. It's Kashian. I think you'll really enjoy her Instagram, particularly. She's been posting a lot of older stand-up clips that are great, and it's cool to watch her journey. I am Lisa Curry. Of course, my Twitter is Lisa_Curry, and my Instagram is olympianlisacurry. If you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe. Leave a little comment. All that stuff helps. If you're not enjoying the show, truly no idea what you're doing here, but I guess thanks for the numbers. All right, we'll catch you next week. Bye.